So the first listing was driven completely through AI, and then called to introduce myself, get a little bit familiar with each other. I arrived on the day, did the appraisal, and signed it up that afternoon. So the other two listings came in fairly quickly. They were both seeking an appraisal, and they were actually just curious in the lead generation. They didn't actually specify that they wanted to sell, and both of those went in the same direction to me getting into the front door, doing the appraisal, and then getting the listings, and both of those have sold.
Listings that you were successful with so far, what does that look like in terms of commission for you approximately?
Okay, that will be about 75.
Fantastic. Great start. Great start.
Working on about 25k, and maybe a 19k, but it's certainly getting very close to 70.
Tenille, thank you very much for your time today. Really pleasure having you along. So 32 days into your campaign, 3 listings already. You've had some amazing success so far. Walk me through the wins. What was the conversations like getting those leads from coming through the system into ultimately listing with you?
Okay, so the actual first one was completely driven by Amy, to be honest. The AI appoint setting component of the system. So a gentleman clicked on the Facebook ad, and before I got to him, Amy did, and they proceeded to actually make an appointment for me to go over and do an appraisal. So the first listing was driven completely through AI, and that was with Amy, and I just gave him a courtesy call to introduce myself, caught up on all the notes that were had and shared, the text trails between Amy and Steve, and then called to introduce myself, get a little bit familiar with each other. I arrived on the day, did the appraisal, and signed it up that afternoon. So that one was really easy. That was just a very good point A to point C, full process from lead generation to AI introduction through to AI booking to the client complying, which was great. And so that showed me the whole system fairly quickly. Not many since then have been like that. I have to have more interaction, but that was a really good start because it showed me the whole platform, or the commentary, or the text trails between Amy and Steve. The appointment setting went into my phone. All the details were in there, and that work was done. So that was the first one. That paid for everything straight away.
Yeah, and that's a good example of, outlining that what the system is in place and designed to do is help you nurture those conversations where you might not get an opportunity to get to them straight away, and help you qualify those situations. But as you're about to delve into a little bit more, there are cases where, as the agent, you have to be more involved with the system to get, more working as well.
Yeah, that was a really good start in terms of showcasing the entire process at its best. That for, if that was to happen for every lead generation that came through, would be wonderful, but that is not always going to be the case. So the other two listings came in fairly quickly. They were both seeking an appraisal, and they were actually just curious in the lead generation. They didn't actually specify that they wanted to sell, but I called and introduced myself, thanked them for clicking on the ad, did tell them that it was a Facebook advertisement that I had created. Didn't say it was any kind of outsourcing. I did say that it was my creation for my local community of homeowners, so that they can reach out to an agent and or get a property appraisal, even if they are just curious. And both of those went in the same direction to me getting into the front door, doing the appraisal, and then getting the listings, and both of those have sold.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you touched on a good point there as well with those leads coming through as just curious. You know, there's obviously the system kind of they ask that question, just curious, or are you looking to sell? But the importance from an agent's perspective is to really, know that just curious can sometimes be some of the most positive or more inclined to sell their property. And as you do, you kind of tailored it to your own approach and
Mhm.
qualified that and ultimately successfully sold them, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It is. Look, there aren't many people that say, I want to sell now. They are mostly just curious. 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 9 to 12 months. But it is important. I think the most important thing to do is to call them, but how you talk to them.
Yeah.
And if you can't get a hold of them, you've got to text them because they have reached out they've reached out usually on a phone, and they're going to see that there's a missed call, and it's important to follow it up with a text message. If they're interested in selling, they will return my call. They will respond to my text message. So I can generally get a good idea about whether the just curious are really just curious. They'll ignore me completely, which is fine. And that's going to happen. It happens in real life when we go door knocking as well. But they're going to respond. So
Yeah.
don't ignore the just curious, but don't get also at the same time overwhelmed by the just curious and throw all of your attention at the just curious, because you can spend a lot of time doing appraisals and digital reports and it really not resulting in anything if people are looking at values for equity, insurance, or they want to know what their mother-in-law's house is worth because it's not
Yeah.
the home that they've inquired about, or their ex's house. So you do have to be mindful of the time you spend. Typically, most people are pretty friendly. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't answer the phone. That's
Yeah.
common with numbers they don't know. So that's why it's important to follow up with a text.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, there's these are people that essentially have not yet had any introduction to, had developed any type of relationship. So it just shows how important it is and vital it is to be able to really fact find and ask those right questions, or match their communication style to get to understand their true intent. So
You can
it
do an
sounds like
RP data search. You can do an
yeah.
RP data price finder search really easily to see if that person owns that property. And that's what you
Mm,
should be doing straight away as a part of your agent's due diligence anyway. You really
yeah.
can't be talking to someone about a property if you haven't qualified they own it. So have a quick look. You've got RP data on your phone, you've got it on your laptop, you've got it everywhere you go. Have a quick look. You can still do that before 5 minutes, 10 minutes is over and get back to them. And I think it's just really important to start that conversation with not who you are and where you're from, because a
Yeah.
lot of people are doing this because they don't think they will be talking to an agent. You must start the phone call by thanking them and showing appreciation for the fact that they have recognized the ad that you've put out there.
Good.
Once you thank them and make them feel good, then they're a little less likely to be resistant to what comes next, which is your introduction as a real estate agent.
Yeah. And like you said, having that preparation in place before the call is so vital. It just elevates that conversation, that quality of the call. You know what you're
You
talking
can't
about. You
start
have,
with their name. You
yeah.
can't start with their name. You can't call them and just quote the suburb that they're
Mm,
inquiring about from the lead gen. You have to know their name. You have to know their full property address. And if you can't do that because you've just clicked on their mobile phone to call them, and you're going to be referring to their property as the property, and you're going to be referring to them as just someone that clicked on a Facebook ad recently, it's not going to work.
yeah.
You need to be personal, and you need to say, "Good morning, Robert. Thank you so much for contacting me about your property in Penrose Avenue, Sydney. I'm thrilled that I can help you." And just start with all the data so they know that you already have all the information. You're there to help. Don't wing it. And you
Exactly
don't,
right. I love the personalized approach, and normalizing the situation is quite important. And with the listings that you were successful with so far, what does that look like in terms of commission for you approximately?
okay. That is that will be about 75.
Fantastic. Great start. Great
So
start.
working on about 25K, 25K, and maybe a 19K, but it's certainly getting very close to 70.
That's amazing. And that's a great success story to the start of the campaign. And in terms of more potential opportunities coming through the system, have you got a rough number of conversations you've got, progressive conversations you've got with nurturing potential leads turning into listings in the future?
Well, actually, yes. Quite a few of these phone calls have converted into property management listings. So organically building up the rent roll during these conversations, maybe where they aren't interested in selling, a couple of people, they have had properties. I'm not going to have a conversation with a homeowner ever and not inquire about any other properties that they have. If you're not having a conversation about their portfolio, then you're not doing your job. So you need to dive into all the other ways that you can help them if it's anything to do with real estate and their situation. So we've had a couple of people that have had properties managed by other real estates that we've taken over too, and a lady that I'm currently working with now to identify some issues that she has with her existing agent and hope to bring her across as well. So that's one other layer of this process that you should be integrating, which is how else you can help them in this real estate sector with their portfolio or any advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes sense to be, as a homeowner to, if they have it a portfolio, keep it under the same roof, have one person that specializes in that area across all areas, servicing you and looking after you. It just makes sense.
Surprising if you just how many of the people that I talk to that aren't going to sell, they really wanted to know the value for whatever reason, and they're very surprised when I say that's okay. That's what a real estate agent should be able to
Yeah,
do for you. We are not just about listing and selling properties. We should be able to help you with property advice and guidance and support. That's our job. That's our profession. That's our skill set. So asking for an appraisal of your property shouldn't feel overwhelming. You shouldn't be harassed. You shouldn't be stalked. Shouldn't be worried about talking to an agent. It's what we do. So that is then opens the door for them to, usually the floodgates open and they start talking about everything that they've had a problem with. And that's time for us to show how we problem solve and how we negotiate, which is the other part of our job.
100%. And you're right. I mean, it's not even just getting a valuation on the home. It's not always educating someone on that process. It's like you said, not just about selling a property. Could be financing, refinancing, could be insurance purposes, or simply wanting an update on the value of their home after renovations, and having the right agent in place to help them with all those key areas is vital to have that connection. It's good.
And it's great. And growing the database with, homeowners with names and numbers is really important because it's hard to develop a clean and maintain a clean database. And so the more homeowners that you have in your area with names and email addresses, the more you can do with it, the more money you'll make, and the more communication you can have with them.
Yeah. And it's fine tuning that database as you go along, keeping nurturing, understanding where they're at in the cycle and where you can support them.
And the other thing that I like a lot is that the communication with you guys through Slack, school Slack. Yeah, it's brilliant. It is almost like you guys are there 24/7. What I say doesn't always need a response because what I'm saying is just giving you feedback or information. But if I need an answer or have a question, you're there. Someone's always there. Someone's always replying. Someone's always making a time to meet with me, even though I can't always be there. You reschedule upon reschedule upon reschedule because you guys get what we do every day, and that
Yeah.
we do fly by the seat of our pants so frequently. We may have nothing on, and then we have 3 things in a row that we know are going to make money, and we need to go and do that.
It's a changing, within the real estate world, day to day, that doesn't always look the same. And we need to, I think that's where we specialize in this real estate environment. We have to understand what it's like in the day of an agent. And definitely, as you said, communication is key. If we know what's going on in your world, we can support, pivot, provide solutions where possible. So it's definitely something that the team, prioritizes and takes serious, is ensuring there's a tight knit communication loop with our clients to make sure that we're across everything, so we can provide feedback and solutions and support you where necessary. So appreciate that.
And you let me change my ads.
Yes.
So every agent will know in their area they generally have a demographic. They have a buyer demographic, they have a seller demographic, they have a tenant landlord demographic. And you may not find out what that is for a few years, but someone in your office knows. I can change my ads to reflect different questions, or I can introduce an idea to the ad and you will send me a proof. I will read it, agree with it, and then off it goes. So you aren't just this structured system of advertising on Facebook and sticking to this one platform process format. You are changing it. You're flexible. It's a tangible concept. And I like that, because a lot of principals who are also lead sales agents, we are very, very good at marketing, but we just don't have the time. So we can give you all of our ideas and our suggestions and things that we know work and phrases that we know work and things like that. And you can put it into action. You can get it out there and we can get the leads from it. That's been the biggest, definitely one of the biggest selling points, and what I'm a big advocate for is that flexibility that you have on advertising. When I come up with an idea on how to just change it around a little bit. Yeah.
Good. And that's right. We need, like we said before, we need to adjust and pivot, and not every real estate core area is the same. Demographics change. You do know, you're the local experts. We can provide our tools and certain materials that we know have proven to work, but we also know that we need to adapt it accordingly and trial those things. It's an environment that consistently changes in lead generating. So we need to make sure that the ads are performing at its top peak, and we're producing the quality leads that you want to see. So appreciate that feedback, Tenille. And what were your business goals before, ultimately, that drove you to reach out to Icon Media Co. to partner with as a service?
I was running out of time to create my content. I seem to be always starting the creation process, and then I wouldn't get to finish it, and then I'd recreate it because something had changed, and then I wouldn't get to finish that. So I wasn't getting my marketing and advertising content for myself out there, and B, I didn't have any time to do prospecting, as in door knocking, which I haven't done for years. So I probably will never do again. And letterbox drops are a complete waste of money. I think that anyone doing letterbox drops can just probably flush that money down the toilet. Yeah. So having used a couple of different lead gen systems over the last 10 to maybe 15 years, I knew that moving into AI and moving into such a digital infrastructure, work from home, devices in everyone's hands, so much more happening in that digital environment, that if I didn't get on board with it, I would get behind. So I wanted to make my prospecting easier, more frequent, more streamlined. I wanted to make my marketing and advertising about myself and my business more prevalent and top of mind, I guess, with people. And I didn't want to spend a ton of money on things that I knew weren't going to work or that were going to just get lost in, amongst all the other agent stuff. So I'd used a couple of failed lead gen systems in the past, and they were just weren't functional. They just didn't work. And I liked this. I liked the pitch. I liked the examples of Icon Media Co. I liked the people. It just worked with me. You fit with me. Your group fit with my personality, my selling style, my business structure, my ethos. So I went ahead and
I really appreciate that feedback, Tenille. And now that you're at this point, long-term goals to continue to enhance your real estate position. What does that look like, and how do you see Icon Media Co. fitting into that future goal?
Well, I would like to keep the system going for as long as I'm in business, to be honest. If it keeps going the way it's going, that it has been for the last almost 2 months, I will definitely keep it going. I don't envisage stopping it for the next, 3, 6, 12 months. And I would like to somehow, honestly, I would like to kind of get rid of those, not get rid of, but reduce the amount of just curious and work on a way where I can really target those people that want to sell. So that my time is actually spent with genuine, ready now or getting ready soon sellers. And that's my goal.
And I think, as we touched on earlier, and what we've been discussing via our Slack channel with you too, is constantly working on ways to adapt to what you're looking for. And I think that's only going to develop as the relationship develops and we understand what you're trying to achieve in line with the other solutions that we have in play and we're developing out. We want to make sure that we can support you in every way possible. And your feedback has been amazing, and that only helps us help you. So we really appreciate that. And Tenille, it's been a pleasure, and we look forward to continue working with you on this. And we wish you all the best.
Good. It's been fun. You guys are really fun to work with. You know how to take a joke, and you also know how to do business. So I like working with people who are real, because although this is real estate, sometimes there's not a lot of reality in it. It's nice to work with people who just say the way it is and put everything else aside. We all know we're in business. We all know we're here to make money. But it is nice for there to be the human element in it still. And that is that we are all trying to run a business, all trying to make money, but all trying to do it in an ethical manner with
100%.
values and respect for each other. That's important to me, because that's how I treat my clients and my customers.
Yeah.
So
working together is only going to help get to that common goal. And you got to really draw on utilizing people with their experience, their specialities. You don't need to know everything or feel like you have to be a part of every solution. You just draw on the support that you have. And I think that's why it works so well with what we're doing with yourself, Tenille, at the moment, is working together, taking on your feedback, your ideas, suggestions, and adapting it to what you're trying to achieve. And that's only going to help, prolong the experience that you've already had so far with the system.
And I'm a hard nut to crack. I can tell you, I couldn't even tell you how many phone calls and emails I've had from people wanting to get me on board for lead generation systems, bus advertising, signage, flashing lights in IGAs and Woolworths, database management, you name it. It hasn't stopped for the last probably 5 years, maybe more than anything, 3 to 5 years. And I have said, no, 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 no. You were the first people that I contacted after having a couple of experiences in the past, that I've contacted since we've moved toward AI and a lot more digital, I guess, processes and follow throughs and follow up pipeline work and things like that. And I did it for a reason. You knew what you were talking about, and you weren't selling. You didn't give me a pitch. That was really important because I'm a salesperson through and through, 31 years. You can't sell anything to me that I don't want to be sold. So the honesty was good. The communication is good. You know how it works. It's not expensive. It really isn't. At the end of the day, it's not expensive. I would pay more for a staff member to do what I'm getting from you, and I probably wouldn't get the amount of smiles and compliance that I get from you guys. And, you know, just the happy environment that it is to work in with a staff member.
Yeah.
And that makes my life less stressful, which makes me happy.
And that's what we so appreciate it, Tenille, and we look forward to continuing this partnership and working to meet your goals. So appreciate your time today. Always a pleasure. And let's continue to make some success stories for you. So thank you.
Thank you.